Hi everyone, welcome to the channel and congratulate yourself for being here and continuing to do some more good work for yourself. You're going to find today's episode really interesting because I'm going to be exposing overconfidence and the effects that it has on our progress, and not just the progress that we have made, but potential discoveries as well. So for those of you new here, my name is Lee and I guide others in the transition from past harming behaviors. And in the title of the channel, it says recovery. And yes, that can mean substance. However, that can also mean other behaviors in lifestyles that breached that connection to ourselves and that brought harm to our lives. So there's something here for everyone. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to get weekly notifications of guidance on helping you with the transitions of the challenges and the inspirations that you are facing. As well, always feel free to leave comments. I like to hear your thoughts, your questions, and your suggestions. So before I get going into the dynamics and the strategies of overconfidence, I just want to say that I realize there are some of you here that are fairly early in your recovery or new to the transition. And right now it's about dealing with the triggers and the temptations and keeping your head above the water. And that's great. And there are some of you here as well that have been at it a little bit longer, myself included, where there are some routines that are in place and there is some confidence, and we can go down a checklist of goals that we've accomplished since making that transition. And regardless of where you place yourself at this point, it is always key in all of this awareness building to fortify ourselves with information that pertains to us now and to be prepared for what lies ahead for us as well. So when you hear overconfidence, tap into your gut reaction, because there are some of you that will have the reaction of excitement and yes, bring it on, and how do I get some of that? And there are some of you that are thinking, oh, perhaps I should put on the brakes, or that sounds a little iffy, or maybe I should be cautious of overconfidence. So regardless of what your gut reaction is to that, it's important to pair that feeling with the realization that there is a fine line between knowing what you are doing now works for you now and assuming that that same approach will always work for you. And I don't want to rain on any parades here, because you have done some great work. And the fact that we're all here means that we are committed to moving forward. And because of this, it's crucial to expose overconfidence and learn to recognize it before the negative consequences of overconfidence unfold. Now, being overconfident may not come up on your radar of self-evaluated confidence, but we all need to be aware that overconfidence means we are no longer paying attention to fortifying ourselves with the routines that transitioned us to where we are now. And that can lead to two things. That can lead us to getting caught off guard because we are cruising through life, we're feeling good, the blinders are on to a certain extent, or we can also become complacent and we are not looking for new ways to explore and to fortify our new challenges and to expand ourselves. And continuing growth is important. It is key in recovery. We need movement towards goals. We need to be thinking of our purpose, and we need to be working our way towards that person that we want to become. And we don't want to become complacent, because that can translate into getting stuck again. And it could mean slipping back into old patterns, or it could mean a full-blown relapse. So having said all of that, one sign of overconfidence is you are presenting an over-the-top brave face with yourself. Now, honesty within ourselves is the key foundation of this all. And I know you've heard the saying, fake it until you make it, or if you haven't, you're hearing it now, but it's true. We need to go through the motions that get us where we need to be, whether that's making it through the morning by staying busy and not picking up the phone and calling someone that we should not be calling, or that could mean getting into a bedtime gratitude routine. But among these actions, ask yourself, are you so brave that you are preventing yourself from questioning your doubts, your concerns, and your challenges? Because it's key that you always check in with yourself. And I hope this makes sense and that you can see the balance in that, because you've made it this far. And you need to be aware if you're telling yourself, oh, keep going, don't worry, no problem, you've got it nailed. Be very careful of that cruise mode. When you are convincing yourself that the road is clear, then you need to be aware, because for starters, you're not being fully honest with yourself. There is always something that turns up on that road, so be aware of that. And secondly, cruise mode and not paying attention to the exact obstacles that can fly in your way. You got to be mindful of those. Got to have plans for those. You have to prepare yourself for what you're going to do when those challenges come on. So perhaps you should not be going to the places that trigger memories or where you will possibly run into a certain person. And there are many fill-in-the-blank situations here, but the common takeaway is believing you got it covered, and that can lead you back to harm. And know and trust that your efforts have served you, but don't be afraid to stop and ask yourself, is this too much? Can I handle this? Is this a smart thing to do? Question yourself, go with your gut, and stick with your guns on doing what is best for you. Don't be the tough guy at your own peril. Another thing that can help you gauge overconfidence is ask yourself, am I taking on too much? And have you noticed that you're in a bring it on mode? Are you saying, I can handle that. I'm ready for everyone, and I'm ready for everyone and their problems too. And that's typical in a transition from past harming lifestyles. We tend to think that once we gain some traction and we are creating a good track record for ourselves, that we need to hit the ground running right out of the gate. We feel that we need to make up for lost time. So, for example, those of you moving from bad relationships may want to start dating again, and fill in your blanks here at any time. So this can lead to being too busy in the wrong places. And it's important to give ourselves time to connect with ourselves and to make a good game plan for ourselves. So pay attention when you are going back into cruise mode and not paying attention to yourself. And take time to stand back and to question, am I doing okay? Am I ready for the next thing? Am I ready for that event? Or whatever the circumstance is. And in this strategy, when you stop to touch base with yourself, to deliberately ask yourself, am I taking on too much? Take note of your gut reaction. Take note of your posture. Do your hands clench? Really take note of physical observations when you're asking yourself questions that you want an honest answer to. So ask yourself, am I taking on too much? And feel it and think about it. Another way to identify if you are overconfident is if you find others often saying to you that you are doing well. And I need to explain this one a little bit, because my first reaction to that was, well, what's wrong with that? Of course I'm doing well. And it's clearly not a bad thing to hear. It's just for the logistics of this topic of gauging confidence, it's important to mention and it's important to discuss. And it's not comfortable for us to dissect when people are encouraging us or are saying good things about us. But it's very important for us, typically in the vicinity of hearing we are doing well, that we realize there can be indirect strings attached, because you're accountable again, and you're perhaps more grounded and equipped to deal with things. And it could also mean that you're more pleasant to be around. And it puts pressure on you to some extent to prove yourself to them, to help them. And to once again, we go back to wanting to make up for lost time. So you need to ask yourself, Are you up for the challenge? And it's a tough one to put on your radar, to question how often people are telling us that we're doing well, because we just don't want to question the good things people are telling us. But it's important to be aware of, and it does make for a good assessment tool to recognize when we are extending ourselves too much to others. And the last thing I want to mention to help you gauge if you are overconfident is, are you relying on your intentions alone to carry you now? And I really like this one because it's very straightforward. So this is when you are so pleased with the progress that you've made. You have good routines, you're working towards goals, and depending on where you are in your transition, perhaps you're at the phase where you're keeping your head above the water each day, and that's all good stuff. But among this, you firmly believe in some place within you that your ability to remain on track and your desire to continue to knock down all of your goals will be enough. And it is enough in terms of defining what you want for yourself. But stop and think about this. All of your desires, all of our wills, our intentions are only as strong as the foundations that support them. And think about it in terms of a chain and its links, because a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So you need to have yourself fortified with all of those links good and strong and prepared and planned and grounded. So take nothing for granted. Your intentions and desires equal the same as your effort and awareness. So the key in all of this is to be mindful of letting your guard down and to be cautious of not wanting to take further steps to continue the good routines and creating new goals for yourself. Keep those active. We need continuous movement forward. Not all at once, but baby steps towards the person that you want to become. So stay engaged, stay aware, stay connected, and do your best to remain honest with yourself. So in the link below, I have a self-discovery gem, and you can download that. It's a sheet with questions that you can ask yourself to get you into the mode to start asking yourself questions and to hopefully start answering them honestly. And as well, I have a link to an episode here in the channel, Red Flags to Recovery, and that does detail overconfidence, and it also details many things that you should be aware of in your transition in any phase of your recovery. You can also go to my website. The link below is for that. It's recoverywithlee.com, and there you can find out more for yourself. You can learn a bit more about me, and I have more resources there as well. And links below for Facebook and Instagram where you can find me also. So stay in tune with your confidence. Always gauge it. Go with your gut. Ask yourself questions and keep moving forward. And in the meantime, take very good care of yourself and see you in the next episode.